Q&A number 4. So thank you guys very much for all the questions. Got a lot of them to go through today. And if you guys complain that this show is way too long, you guys only have yourselves to blame, because you guys are the ones who said, oh yeah, we'd sit through 20-minute shows, so I have no idea how long this is going to go, but we'll see. A couple things. First of all, this is rather extemporaneous. I've gone through them, but I haven't actually prepared answers for them, so yeah, it's going to be like that. And also, I had a lot of people asking multiple questions, so what I did in that case was I took your questions and I found the one that had the most up thumbs, and that's the one I chose. And I think there was like one tie, and in that case I just took the one that looked like it had a more interesting answer. So let's do this. I would say that I don't have a preference, but I kind of do. The reason is that woodsball, at least there's some variation, as well, if you will. Almost every speedball game, it kind of goes down to 2-1-2. 2 left, 2 right, 1 center, and that's pretty much it is. You sit in the back row, you hammer a lot of paint, and then when somebody gets shot out, then somebody thinks about moving. And at least in the woods, you have some variation on that. The fields are not symmetrical. You got, you can't see the other team, so you have no idea who's going where. I like that. It's more challenging to me. I've oftentimes said if I had known half the stuff then that I know now, it would have just been a holy terror. Because the game that it used to be played and the game that's played now are two completely different things. And a lot of people think, oh, we're just going back to the roots of the game. No, you're not. Because way back when, we played 45-minute long games on 20-acre fields, just massive amount of space and time. And nobody was sprinting. Nobody was really running. I mean, right at the beginning of the game there was some, but it was a lot more stalking than it was running. So you don't have that. And it's kind of fun to play on the pump days, I guess, but for the most part, it's not the way that it used to be. At least not purely the way it used to be. I mean, it's a nice change of pace, but, don't confuse one for the other. If your gun weighs more than your dog, stop upgrading your marker. If your marker is taller than you because you've got barrels and you've got stocks and you've got all sorts of other stuff, stop upgrading your marker. If your marker is in fact wider than you, stop upgrading your marker. If it takes more than 3 or 4 batteries to power all the things on your gun, stop upgrading your marker. If you're looking at a bayonet lug and thinking, ooh, I could use that, stop upgrading your marker. And I have a very distinct feeling I just started a meme, but we'll see what happens. Well, I'm going to have to go pump on this one, only because it's cheaper, it's what I can normally afford these days. But that being said, give me a good Tippmann semi-automatic paintball gun and I can go for all day. And I'm happy because it will just continue to shoot and shoot and shoot and shoot. And every once in a while when you need to throw a couple balls downrange, you can do that. So if I had a choice, it would be pump gun. But to be honest with you guys, the semi-auto, it does have its merits. Buy less gear and play more paintball. Well, yeah, everybody has been. I mean, there's always been that one time, if you've been playing long enough, you've been the linchpin to your team's loss. You've been the one guy on the side holding the side down, you get shot, and the other team overruns your guys. And that happens. It's not about, the thing is, it's not really about that. It's about how you bounce back from that, how you learn from that, and how you avoid that in the future. Okay, tech questions. Now, lately I've been using Vegas 10, which I bought as part of a larger package because it also included DVD burning software and some audio software and stuff like that. If you've got the money, it's very well worth it. I used to use a different program, Adobe, but that puked out after 5 minutes of rendering. Unknown error! Yeah. Now, as far as how long it takes, well, let's see here. The recording of this video that you're watching right now, this is probably going to take about an hour or so, which is why I'm starting to sweat because it's hot in here. The actual editing itself takes upwards of about 2 or 3 hours, depending on the video. This one's going to be rather edit intensive. Then there's getting the music, which I get from a place called Incomptech. If you're looking for royalty-free music, that's the place to go. Then there's also the titles, getting all of the other components in place. What else is there? There's the uploading itself. That takes about, on average, 1.5 to 2 hours or so. So you're looking at maybe, all told, an average video can take anywhere from like 10 to 11 hours of work total. And now that's not including the out-of-field stuff. If I'm going off to a remote location, then there's also the travel time, there's the walking out to the fields, there's the gear prep, and it's really time intensive. Industry hype is really what it comes down to. Because people in the industry are selling this lie that it's all about getting the better gear. If you got better gear, then everybody's going to want you on their team, and you're going to be the most awesome player in the world. And they've been selling this for years and years and years. And that's actually one of my pet peeves about the game, is that they're focusing so much on the gear that we use, and they're not talking about the game that we play. And almost everybody is guilty of this one, because everybody focuses so much on, oh, you need the right gear. No, you don't. You can play with a slingshot and be happy. Providing, of course, you can get the slingshot under 300.
Come on.
Sheboygan, let's not talk about Sheboygan yet. But the most unusual field that I ever played at, wow. Actually, you're gonna have to believe this, downtown Chicago. There used to be a place there, I think it was, I don't remember the name of it. It should give you an idea of how fast this place is up and gone. But the idea was that it was supposed to be like this dark environment thing, but it was in downtown Chicago, and they had to get a variance of the law, so I have no idea how much money passed hands to get that in there. But yeah, it was right near the U of I campus down there, and it was like the entire 3rd or 4th floor of the building. And they had like this camera set up so that people in the observation area could control this like remote robot that you could drive around and pay like $1 and have like 3 shots or something ridiculous like that. It was kind of a fun place. The only problem was that, well, it was downtown Chicago and they were not making enough money in order to stay open. But it was a pretty interesting field.
Come. What you want?
People still use expansion chambers? Really? Oh, like people still using CO2. It's not a bad idea, I guess, because it gives liquid CO2 a chance to turn back into gaseous CO2 before it enters the gun. It gives you a little bit more of a failsafe. But it's kind of one of those things that, you know, I used to use one on my guns, and then after a while I realized that you could kind of do the same thing by filling your tank like 4 ounces less than normal. So I just kind of went, okay, you know, I'm just going to not touch this at all. But it kind of gives you a nice front grip, so if you're looking at it for the front grip aspect, it's not so bad, but other than that,
Come on.
The sniper question. No, actually my opinion really hasn't changed. And the reason is that every field that I go to up here, it's field paint only. So I have never actually used the first strike round. I've never seen the first. Well, actually, I've seen them, but I've never actually had anybody shooting at me with them. I've never shot one myself. So to me, it's still a non-issue. And the only reason people want to be a paintball sniper is because of the word sniper. Okay, long story short, I was doing freelance work at the time, and a bunch of videos cropped up on Expert Village involving a tournament player out of Orlando, Ortez Esquada. I'm not going to put a picture-in-picture here. I would do that, except I don't want to get into legal trouble. But the long story short is that his videos were ripped apart, up one side, down the other, and a lot of people in the industry are saying, hey, they should get Tiger to do that. So as a joke, I said on the forum, yeah, tell them to hire me. So they did, and I did 3 series for them, and that was pretty much it. And it's not like, you know, oh, I'm never working with them again. It's just that they didn't need my talents anymore, so you move on. It's just the way it works. Oh, I love this question. I love these questions because these are the ones that everybody gets so pent up with because they're like, oh yeah, I have to do one or the other. And honestly, you just find a paintball that's not going to roll out the barrel and isn't going to, you know, be so tight that the ball's going to break because of just how tight the bore is, and you just go play. And a lot of times lately I've been playing with my A5. And the A5 I have a stiffy barrel, and it's got like a 6.89, I think it is, or 6.91 or something. But it's, you know, fairly huge bore, but the paint goes relatively straight, and it goes where I want it to go. End of discussion, honestly. You know, the biggest thing a lot of people they get so hung up on you have to have it one way or the other. If it works, just play. It doesn't matter. Actually, they have been made, but it's been made by us people. Way back when, what people were doing is they were gutting their Revies, and they were taking the Revy stuff and they were putting it inside of 100-round hoppers, and that worked out pretty well. The problem is that I think you're talking about like a commercially available 100-round electronic hopper. I don't think that's going to happen, only because the industry doesn't understand that that's something that would be interesting to us, that we would want. Now, actually, no, wait a minute, come to think of it, Viewloader did make, they made like a 100-round jewel case hopper kind of thing. The idea was that you buy the bottom piece, the actual motor and stuff, and then you buy different shells that you clamp on top of it. They had a 1, 2, and a 300-round shell. So, I mean, yeah, it's been out there. But a lot of the industry thinks, oh, they're not going to want that. They want to shoot more paint, faster paint. Yeah, they don't quite understand that some of us really don't, but nah, I guess whatever. I'm always puzzled why people want to know this stuff, because this is the kind of thing that it's, you know, personal choice, and it's just what you like, honestly. Now, as far as my gear out lately, it's whatever's appropriate for the situation. So if I'm playing Woods Play, actually I'll think of the last time I played. Even though I was gear testing stuff, I was wearing the Animal Pants in Jersey. I had the JT mask with the Psycho Scenario thing. I'll show you the picture over here. With the A5 with the stiffy barrel on there and all that. And actually, that's pretty typical of my loadout. That's what I like. Just something light and fast and quick. If I'm playing in other scenarios, then I'll wear the vest, and you know, if it's really hot outside, I'll wear like the Spec Ops stuff because it's nice and breathable. If it's different, like a fall kind of thing, I'll be wearing ACUs, or I'll be wearing Realtree, or I'll be wearing, you know. So as far as that goes, I wear clothing as far as conditions go. Now, as far as the guns go, I just choose ones that work. That's why you see me with the TAC-1, the A5, and the EMAG, and the Phantom. That's why you see those guns, because they work, and they always work. So, I mean, that's what it is. Now, if you guys want like an entire show on that, I can do that. But to me, that's just, you know, it's just me showing off what gear that I have, and it really doesn't add anything to it other than this is what I like. It's kind of like saying, yeah, I love cheeseburgers. And if you're a vegetarian, you know, just saying. Wow. Getting outside, crawling around in the dirt, doing all those things that I used to be able to do so much easier. Well, I'm old and my knees aren't that great anymore, but no, I just like getting out there, being with friends, hanging out with people, you know. You know, the game is not even the important thing anymore, it's just being out there. Oh boy, probably not gonna happen. And I've got a longer video planned on the D-Day thing. Thing is though that it's very research intensive, and I don't want to screw this one up because this is going to be a very long, very involved video about what bothers me about things like D-Day and Ion and other games of that like. That and Wayne Dollick pretty much ruined that entire experience for me anyway, and yeah, he doesn't remember this happening, and you know, Jackie Dollick claims that I'm thinking of somebody else's game. Yeah, I don't think so. I would show you the picture, but actually, you know what, I will show you the picture. That was taken at the last Dollick game that I actually was ever at, and yeah, the reason that there's a sensor bar over that is because, yeah, that's pretty much what was going on with me during that game, because that's another rant. I'm not going to touch it here, but suffice to say that if I do that video, it will get me into a heaping huge amount of trouble. That's all I'm going to say. But as far as D-Day goes, you're probably not going to be seeing you there. There is a video plan to explain why, but I don't want to screw it up, so please be patient with me on that video. It's a long video. That's all I'm going to say. As long as you've got the 3 down, angles, communication, teamwork, as long as you know your gear, you know how everybody works, you trust the people on your team, you know the objective of the game, and you stick to the objective of the game, you will do well. It does not matter if you will call yourself a woodsball or a speedball team, because you can just take what you know and apply it to wherever you are. That's what good teams do. Oh, my favorite. Okay, that's got to be this one over here, the KP2. That I had that for a long time, but the thing is, I kind of retired it because I never really used it, and I sold it on eBay some time ago. It's currently up in Canada right now. But yeah, the KP2, I love this gun. A woodstock, heavy brass gun. You could actually crack someone. Not that I would condone this kind of thing, but you could. It had weight to it. That's all I'm going to say. And it had a good feel. It was just a really cool gun. That's why I still want the Punisher gun, actually, because it's that same kind of thing. Well, first of all, I don't think Spec Ops is a dead company quite yet. I don't think that they're going to be going away. I could be wrong on this one, but I don't see anything about that. Now, and also about the dye camouflage and the Valken camouflage, I'm not saying that it's crap. I'm just saying that everything that I've heard about Valken is one way, and their representatives tell me it's another way, and I'm not going to drop $300 to go buy dye gear. You know, if the guys from Dye are watching this and you feel like sponsoring a Woods player, let me know through this channel. But you're not going to do it anyway. That's another story entirely. But as far as breathable camouflage goes, actually, that was a good way to put this. There's not a lot on the market as far as high breathability goes that's going to stand up to ruggedness in paintball. It's either made one way or it's made the other. Now you can go with some of the black speedball gear. Some of that's pretty good. I've heard some people have been saying that the Valken gear doesn't rip on the first time that you go play, and if that's the case, then that might be a good option for you. The animal paintball pants that I was wearing, those have a lot of breathability down the back. So, I mean, you're going to always have to find that balance, I hate to say. But as far as that goes, I probably just over-answered the question here. But, yeah, there you are then. This should be a war story, I think. Way back in the day, the first time I ever played a night game, I was on Stalker Paintball out in the Dells. I think they're still there. They used to have their field was lit up with these two big searchlights over the bases, and they had like a string of lights that went down the middle too. And a bunch of us were standing around after we had just repelled an attack, figuring what should we do now. The lights went out because the generator kind of hiccuped, and for no adequately explained reason, we all charged.
Come on.
It worked.
What you want? Come.
Understand that I am not a tournament player and I have no stake in the tournament leagues. So that being said, I am concerned about this even being a possibility, because the National Paintball Players League and Paintball Sports Promotions should remain separate entities. Because if you have the Players League as the same thing as the actual league itself, then the players lose their voice. And you need to have your voice. You need to have somebody who can stand up to the player and say, no, this is not right. For those of you who keep up with the MMO world and the videos that I do for that, you probably remember the EVE Online thing. For those of you who don't know, I'll have a link down there to the microtransaction video talking about that. But basically, EVE Online screwed their players over and their players revolted. It was so bad that they emergency flew people out to Reykjavik to have peace negotiations face to face. That's pretty severe when you piss off your players that much. And I can see paintball doing that. I can see that happening in paintball as well. So I think that they still need to be separate entities. Now what he's saying, if I read this correctly, rub my nose, very professional, yeah. He's saying that paint companies are putting pressure on making the two merge. I don't think that would serve any good for the paint companies, other than they would feel like they would sell more paint, which they're doing at such a low upgrade anyway that they're doing, you know, high volume, low profit to try to get more money out of it, I guess. But it's just ridiculous. But that's yet another rant entirely, talking about how the entire sport is basically consumeristic and not really a sport at all. And that's going way over my head here. So let's move on. I don't think UFC fighting is a good example to use here, honestly. The reason is that UFC fighting is, well, it's martial arts. Well, it's actually a back alley brawl in an arena, but I think what they did was they have a lot of colorful characters. They have a lot of, you know, it's just short of being professional wrestling, where you know it's not really professional wrestling, but it's almost at that theatrical level. And I don't think that would be good for paintball to do. And I've mentioned this before about the full contact paintball thing, because I still think that if you get like 3-man teams and go, listen, brother, I'm going to light your ass up, brother, because I'm going to shoot you in the face, brother, and you're not going to be able to do anything about it, brother. Now, I don't think that would be good for the sport. I think that would actually be very detrimental. What I think paintball should do is look at snowboarding and look at skateboarding and adopt some of the things that they have done in order to make their sports more mainstream. But that's yet another story. I don't really have a favorite at the moment, but I have to go Breakaway just because I've been there for the past bunch of times. If you're talking about all-time favorite paintball field, wow, that would be very numerous. I've always liked Stalker. That's always been a really good field. I've always liked, I like Paintball Blitz from the Nostalgia thing because that's the first place I ever played. There's been a bunch of really cool fields. Williams Combat Games is really fun too, but that is so far in the past that I don't even think that the name exists anymore. Well, I have been doing sort of goggle cam-ish stuff. I've been going through the old footage and doing, classics kind of vids. If you guys want to see more of those, let me know. I've still got a lot of backlog of that. I've just kind of been avoiding that just because I'm not sure if you guys like it or not. But as far as the new helmet camera goes, well, again, it comes down to money. And right now I still have way too much that I have to pay to a hospital, and I have way too much I got to put into her. Yeah, her brakes are going, so that could be bad. But anyway, so yeah, kind of speaking of that, be watching eBay sometime in the near future. And yeah, I made that an April Fool's joke. I did. That was an April Fool's gag. I'm not selling the TAC one, but there's probably going to be some gear going up that I don't use anymore, just to pay for stuff. And if there's any extra on top of whatever I sell, yeah, then we'll talk about helmet camera stuff. But for right now, nope. I don't know if you're talking in the broad sense or in the micro sense, because in the broad sense we've gone from 68 caliber, they're doing the 50 caliber paint, I've seen like what, 43 caliber paint, and sometimes they don't go to 22 caliber paint. Those ammunition rounds, they suck. Anytime you need to wear, armor to really play paintball, and you really need it to play paintball, that would suck. But as far as like the other concern goes, I've seen paint go through stages. I mean, the paint used to be like 6, 8, 9 damn near. And then I've also seen years where the paint is like 6, 7, 7, just continually. I don't know. The thing is, I think the common wisdom has come down to you can always make the paint larger by leaving the bag open in a humid environment. But it's just ridiculous. I honestly don't know, because I just go play. And as far as I'm concerned, I'm just going to buy what the field's going to sell me, because every field around here is field paint only. So whatever they're selling me is what I'm using that day. And everybody's suffering with the same paint. I think the idea is also that, we'll make the paint smaller, they can fit like one more ball in the hopper. It's always about carrying one more round, because that might be the round. That might be the one ball out of the other 200 in your hopper that actually gets the one guy you're shooting at. Okay, this goes right into the last one too. I really don't care, because I kind of see this from both sides of the argument, because in my opinion, the field has to make some money somehow, and they're not going to make it really on field. Well, actually, they could make it on field, but I mean, if you've got 10 guys, and each guy's paying $10 to walk in and breathe the air, and then you're paying another $5 for air, which I think is a gross over, whatever, but okay, it's $15 per person. You got to pay your refs, you got to pay your staff, you got to pay the overhead, and all that other stuff. So I understand that. You're going to make a little bit of money on the paint, and that's why I don't complain too much about that. My problem is if you're obviously gouging me for that paint. I've been to some fields where, some people up in Canada are saying it's like, what, 160 you guys said for a case? 160 Canadian? Whew. But I really don't care, honestly, around here, because I look at it this way as I'm not buying the paint, I'm buying an experience. For the money that I'm spending, I'm going to be spending an entire day at this person's facility. This is my day, I'm having fun. I'm willing to give you some money as long as I'm still having a good time. Because if I go to, I don't know, there's a place down the road, Six Flags Great America. I'm going to easily drop $50 there if I spend the entire day there. And that's more of a visceral experience. You get on a ride and you sit and you go, wee! That's fun. But you don't just, stalk through the park and... Well, I'm not going to say that, because I know something happens, people look back at the video and say, he started this! No, I'm just saying. I like having an interactive experience is what I'm saying here. This is going to get me into so much trouble. Next question. Okay, guys. Okay, let me explain this. The reason I haven't brought up the whole Sheboygan thing is because I don't want to talk about it. That's really what it comes down to. And, okay, the reason I even brought it up in the first place is because it's summertime. A lot of you guys have access to the net, and so a lot of guys are getting bored, and I'm seeing a lot of you guys are also getting to this point where you're like, kind of get into that creepy stalker stage, if you will. And you're asking like, you know, what do you do for a job? You know, what's your blood type? Where are you going to be tomorrow afternoon? All this other stuff, and it's kind of creeping me out a little bit, honestly. So I figured that you guys are gonna, somebody is gonna do some back research. They're gonna find the whole Sheboygan thing, and they're gonna ask me about it. So I'm just kind of lampshading it by saying I don't want to talk about it. It's just one of those things that it just happened. All right. I mean, it's just. There was stuff that happened out of my control. I couldn't do anything about it, and you know, even the detective on scene said, "Don't worry about it. Go home. Everything's fine." So we just, you know, that was it, and that's why I didn't, you know, we didn't pursue it. We didn't talk about anything about it. That was it, and I just don't want to talk about that because it's not something that's healthy. It's not something that's going to be, you know, good. And you know, it's the same reason I don't like talking about like the military career, and I don't like talking about the divorce, and I don't like talking about you know, the time I woke up in Guatemala, and I don't like talking about that one thing that happened on I-94. It's just, and there's, you know, the other injuries and stuff like that, and it's just stuff that I don't like talking about it because it's not really pertaining to paintball. It's none of your business necessarily, and it's not something that I really want to get into. I don't want to dive into that. And I know you guys are like, you know, I must tell me everything about you, but I don't want to know everything about you. So what makes it right for you to want to know everything about me? I mean, it's okay to be a fan. I mean, I have no problem with people who are fans, and I like you guys for that, and I like the fact that you watch the videos, and I like the fact that you're kind of interested, but by the same token, you gotta take a step back. You know, you gotta not be as creepy. I mean, you know, this isn't a persona. This isn't like a bunch of crap that I'm throwing out there of, you know, I'm greater than all of you guys, and I'm this. No, I'm just one of you guys. Now, I'm one of the guys in the trenches. I'm one of the guys who, I buy my paint the same way as you do it on the field. I don't get freebies. I don't get jack. I pay for all my gear just like you guys do. You know, as far as I'm concerned, I'm no different than you guys. The only difference is that I've been doing this for 20 years and I happen to have a video camera. So I guess what I'm getting down to is that's the reason I don't want to talk about the Sheboygan incident, because I know somebody's going to go web cruising, and I know somebody's going to find it, and I know somebody's going to, like, you know, their eyes are going to pop out of their head when they realize it. But I just don't want to talk about it. You know, it's just, it's over, it's done, and as far as I'm concerned, that's the end of the story. That's all. That's all. Hey, who's to say I've never had acting lessons? Alright, so everybody, thank you guys very much. That pretty much is everything that you guys asked. Now, like I said, a couple of you guys asked double questions. If I didn't get to your question, ask it again on the next Q&A. Don't put Q&A in this one because that's going to be, I'm not really going to read that for Q&A. I'm just going to go to the one thread that I create for it. Also, check us out on Facebook. We also got a Twitter account, and also I'm working on Google Plus still, so, you know, be patient with me on that one. I'm still kind of backwards when it comes to all this newfangled technology. Why do you think I still use a mechanical? But anyway, thank you guys very much for watching. I know this has been a really long one. I hope you guys appreciate that. And if you guys don't like the long videos, blame yourselves, like I said before. And I am sweating like a stuffed pig out here. I'm done. That's it. Trolling! You be trolling!